My name is Ginny, also known as Two-Thirds Lotus, everywhere on the internet. This clip is part of my series, The Poets of Twitch, where I analyze my viewers' writing live on stream. Nothing has been edited out, so you're seeing this exactly as streamed with all of the imperfections and tangents that come with being live. If you want to catch me live or want more information, check out the description. Otherwise, enjoy some excellent writing.
Speaking of illusion pending, this steals from Doki Doki Literature Club, my own poems, The Traveling Wilburys, Rob Zombie, and Captain America, the Winter Soldier. Awesome. That's sick. Very excited. Doki Doki Literature Club is a great game. Yeah, Dew on the Grass, you speedrun a version of Portal, like a puzzle game on the TI-83 calculator. On your Twitch channel. By Dew on the Grass. Okay. Speedrunning on a calculator? Yeah, it's neat. Musings of Captain America by Dew on the Grass. I learned absolute rights and wrongs. We draw our bows and draw our swords, defending them and shred the world apart. What do you do when everything you know is gone? Yeah, stealing from your own poems. I learned absolute convictions and strength. We draw our rights and draw our arms, defending them and shred the world apart. What do you do when everything you have is gone? I learned absolute loyalty and trust. We draw our friends and families close, defending them, and shred the world apart. What do you do when everything you love is gone? Maybe there's absolute power, maybe there's another absolute. Maybe there's no other you, and maybe when we're gone we go kaput. I guess to rhyme with absolute. I say kaput. Either way, kaput. Silly rhyme, silly reason. Take me to a warmer season. Differences shred, structured teaching, community brings disagreeing. O pentametric trotches, sort my thought the truths. We seek for truth, we seek for truth, we seek in vain, if knowing all, this knowing comes to naught. But sordid thoughts from others say it plain, these absolutes are spuriously sought. I panic as I fumble for refrain. What do you do? What do you do? What do you do? What do you do? What do you don't? Have to get by on your own. Even as we shred our brief amend, we're here. We're with each other to the bitter end. To the end of the line, we're with each other. The end of the line. End of the line. A line is never actually finished. It just stops moving. But the thing is, You don't have to. Musings of Captain America by Dew on the Grass. That's a poem. That's a cool poem. Hi, young Selena. We're reading Dew on the Grass's Musings of Captain America. I like this poem on first impression. There's a lot going on. So yeah, you reference your own poem, Nachtwatch? Dew on the Grass, right? Was that the name of the poem? Nachtwatch. It's a long time ago. Might be gone. There it is. By Dew on the Grass. We draw our bows, we draw our swords. This is a reference to oneself, which is cool. So yeah, that's neat. Let's read it again. Since I totally messed up a lot of the reading and also stopped to make comments, which I don't normally do. Musings of Captain America by Dew on the Grass. I learned absolute rights and wrongs. We draw our bows and draw our swords, defending them and shred the world apart. What do you do when everything you know is gone? I learned absolute convictions and strength. We draw our rights and draw our arms, defending them and shred the world apart. What do you do when everything you have is gone? I learned absolute loyalty and trust. We draw our friends and families close, defending them and shred the world apart. What do you do when everything you love is gone? Maybe there's another power. Maybe there's another absolute. Maybe there's no other you. And maybe when we're gone, we go kaput. Silly rhyme, silly reason. Take me to a warmer season. Differences shred, structured teaching. Community brings disagreeing. Oh, pentametric trotches, sort my thoughts, sort my thought, the truths. We seek for truth, we seek in vain. If knowing all, this knowing comes to naught. But sordid thoughts from others say it plain. These absolutes are spuriously sought. I panic as I fumble for refrain. What do you do? What do you do? What do you do? What do you do? What do you don't have to get by on your own? Even as we shred our brief amend, we're with each other to the bitter end. To the end of the line, we're with each other. The end of the line. End of the line. A line is never actually finished. It just stops moving. But the thing is, you don't have to. Musings of Captain America by Dew on the Grass. There's a lot here. A lot of interesting stuff here. I really like it. Yes, this last stanza. I like this a lot. Right, to the end of the line, we're with each other. The end of the line, end of the line. Like, you repeat end of the line, a conclusion, 3 times. And then you just add a little bit more. I like this a lot. It's very cool. So, yeah, lots in this poem. You said, the repetition, what do you do, is a slant on the beginning of Werewolf Baby. Gotcha. Which I have not heard. Like how you lampshade the word kaput. Silly rhyme, yes. Lots of cool stuff in this poem. Start from the start. I learned absolute rights and wrongs. Okay. Also Captain America. We draw our bows and draw our swords, defending them, and shred the world apart. So them pointing toward our absolute right and wrong. And then them pointing toward our convictions and strength, I think. And then defending them here is interesting, because it could be the friends or the families, it could be the loyalty and the trust. Adds a little bit of expansion to that theme. But what are these saying? We draw our bows and we draw our swords, defending them, and shred the world apart. So, to defend... I mean, there's an irony here, I think. A defense that is destructive. Would we call that defense at all? I'm not sure. And particularly interesting against rights and wrongs. So we destroy for what we consider is right. We defend what we consider is right, and we destroy all else. What do you do when everything you know is gone? What do you know when everything you have is gone? What do you know when everything you love is gone? And I think more so than speaking to the world shredded, the world destroyed, as everything you have, I more see this as a motivation. If everything I know, my absolute rights and wrongs, my values, if everything I have, my convictions, my strength, if everything I love, my friends and family, are gone, what do I have? I have nothing. I have less. I'm threatened. So these to me read more initially as a fear. This feels kind of like we fear loss, we fear these things being taken away from us, and so we violently defend them. Because what else is there to do? Musings of Captain America. So, Captain America, superhero, of course, but also just this sort of symbolic, American patriotic superhero. And I don't know much about the Winter Soldier itself, dewonthegrass, because I don't really like superhero movies, but we can look into it since you've given us the context. But regardless, we love talking about our rights in America, this sort of absoluteness, and perhaps this comments in some way politically on a destruction of the outside to protect ourselves. But I do want to look at maybe the plot of Captain America Winter Soldier. So if you are still trying to not have this 2014 film spoiled for you, I would advise you to step away from stream. I myself have no interest in retaining my non-spoiledness of this movie. I love writing. How about plot? Is there just a plot? 2 years after the battle, okay. Fighting people, counter-terrorism. Okay, bunch of organizations with dumb acronyms. Triskelion? That's a Magic the Gathering card. What actually happens? Dude, can I get like a summary? Wait, y'all, watch this. Chat GPT. Y'all tell me if Chat GPT is wrong on this one. Summarize Captain America Winter Soldier. Okay, Captain America is thawed from decades of being in ice. Okay, Winter Soldier. Questions the organization's true motives. Conspiracy. Oh, he's not the Winter Soldier. Shadowy figure known as the Winter Soldier. Old friend. Brainwashed. Assassin. Explores themes of trust. Oh, okay. Trust, surveillance, and personal freedom. Which kind of like relates to like what we're talking about in this poem already. Personal freedom, trust, the people around us. While Rogers battled both external and internal enemies, including the powerful Hydra faction within S.H.I.E.L.D., ultimately they win because it's a superhero movie. Is this correct? Does ChatGPT need correction here, or does themes of trust, surveillance, and personal freedom get us far enough? Regardless, Captain America is also just related to America. And that's correct and good too. Okay. Dang. I mean, yeah, I was kind of hoping ChatGPT would be wrong as well. Like, it's better that way. It's more fun. Because I do like pointing out how AI is kind of bad at what it does. Okay, so the movie also talks about trust, surveillance. Thank you, ChatGPT. Surveillance, and the other one, which I forgot. Whatever. It's sparse on detail, but that's what you get from a summary. Yeah, that's like what I wanted. See, ChatGPT has uses. I did not like trying to parse the Wikipedia page that we were on. Maybe it'll come back up. No, just all my international phonetic alphabet searches. Okay, here. You know, I did not like there trying to read through like Shield, Strike, Agent Rock Rumlow, like Triskelion. I don't know what these things are, right? But ChatGPT helped me. And I could probably tell it to go into more detail, which is cool. BRB have some clouds I need to yell at. Yeah, sounds good. And, but also just like America. So there's like some kind of inherent political stuff to this, especially when we're talking about rights, tearing, shredding the world apart, which is what some people would say the great United States of A is doing in the world, right? This is my great American flag. Cancel me. Stars. Okay, cool. And it is bad. Canceled. America does some bad things. There could be a political interpretation here, maybe, maybe not. But there's also this like personal thing. I learned. And I mean, these things, these values can be like societal, but this is a deeply personal poem, especially as we get later, right? Talking about this more like, don't have to get by on your own. Ooh, shred. That's a callback. I didn't realize that. Anyway, maybe there's another power. Maybe there's another absolute. Maybe there's no other you. And maybe when we're gone, we go kaput. So maybe there's no other you. Maybe when we're gone, we go kaput. So this is just like musing on just like death, right? Maybe when we're dead, like this sentiment is kind of like there's no heaven, there's no uploading your brain into a computer chip or whatever. Like that's not gonna happen. Um, there's no like hell or whatever, angry devil, waiting for you down there. There's just there's my angry devil. None of this. You just die. This is like kaput. One of these musings. Maybe there's no other you. Is interesting. I'm not quite sure what this is saying on first thought. But we also have another power and another absolute. So absolute right and wrongs. Absolute. Maybe there's another power, maybe there's another absolute. Which asks this question, like, if I am doing something that shreds the world, but other people also have their absolute to shred the world, who is right? Maybe there's no other you. Perhaps in that context, then, this is some sort of, like, maybe you are alone in this thought, and you are acting wrong, and you don't have this, I don't know. You don't have more than yourself and your own ego that you're defending. That could be an interpretation of this. A cursory one. Just thoughts. Silly rhyme, silly reason. Take me to a warmer season. Differences shred. Shred is a big word in this poem. We use it a lot. Structured teaching. Community brings disagreeing. So now I think this continues that theme of undermining this absolute stuff. Differences shred structured teaching. And teaching, I learned, and that's being shredded. It is going, it is being lost. Take me to a warmer season. This is maybe just like a better place. So maybe this looks at the first three stanzas as a bad place. And even silly. Silly, because maybe when we're gone we just go kaput. Maybe I'm the only one who thinks this. Maybe it's not so absolute. Community brings disagreeing. Oh, pentametric trotches. The opposite of an iamb. A type of word. Poetry is what this says in a poetic way. Sort my thoughts. Sort my thought the truths. We seek for truth, we seek in vain if knowing... Well, okay, this is complicated. But we first have poetry sorting my thought. Using these words, these pentametric trotches, to figure out the world. This growth, this learning. Thought. The truths we seek for truth, we seek in vain. If knowing all this knowing comes to naught. If knowing all this knowing comes to naught. So if we don't do anything with knowledge, comes to naught. No action. If there is no action, the truth we seek for truth, we seek in vain. So, finding knowledge, finding truths, do not matter if it does not come to fruition in some way and do something? If it comes to naught, what's the point of it all? But sordid thoughts from others say it plain these absolutes are spuriously sought. I thought comes to naught meant had no result. Yeah, like no fruition, has no results. If they are not for anything, there's not any outcome. Spuriously, this word, for those who do not know, I recently learned this word from a song. In a way that is false, although it seems to be real or true. So sort of deceptive. Others say it plain, these absolutes are spuriously sought. So, seeking these truths, spurious, seeming true, actually false, deceptive. So there's a sentiment here of questioning, seeking our absolutes. Which makes Captain America sort of great here. Captain America as justice, a superhero who brings good, protects people. Undermined. I panic as I fumble for refrain. I panic. What is maybe like the first indication of the subject's emotion. They talk about what they learned, what they did, some questioning, some ideas, some thinking. But then truly we have their feeling, they panic. And this makes sense. When you are so locked in absolutes, and they start to dissolve, how could one not panic? Spurious is mostly used to describe a false cause and effect, so the spurious absolutes are based on false ideas. Okay, yeah, that as well. Spuriously. So then, false. Yeah. All of this is false. What do you do? What do you do? What do you do? What do you do? What do you don't? I mean, now what, right? We have the first three stanzas outlining this bold and confident action. Because we have absolutes, and so we can draw our bows and swords and shred the world. But when we do not have, we have no absolute kind of, no, just from before, that absolute stuff, this person finds themselves panicking. What do you do? What do you do? What do you do? What do you do? What do you don't have to get by on your own? So, to speak to Captain America, like a superhero is someone who is extraordinarily powerful in themselves and is able to, like, make change and save the world through their own actions. This is what the superhero does. They get by on their own. They are powerful. And then now there's this learning in the poem. Rather than being this superhero, quite literally in the title, but also a metaphor for our actual subjects, you don't have to be that. Mazel merchant, hi, how am I? I am well. How are you? Welcome. Sajfel, you're off. Have a good stream. Have a good stream. Oh, no, you don't have a good stream. Have a good night. That's what I meant to say. Have a good night, Stylish Fail. Good to have you. And Mantle Merchant, we're currently reading a poem by another chatter. Dew on the Grass, who is in chat right now. And we're just talking about poetry and what this poem means. Even as we shred our brief amend, we're with each other to the bitter end, the end of the line, we're with each other. So this really sort of introduces someone new. Pretty late into the poem, we have we. This whole poem is I. I learned this, I defend people. I learned this, defending, shredding the world. I. My thoughts, my panic. And then that is lost. So alongside that solitude, we get to introduce like new other outside connection. And even as we shred our brief amend. Amend, not usually used in this noun context. Right? We only really see it as a verb. Unless it's pointing to what is after. Amend? No. Like our brief amend. What is this amend? Do I know who you are? You're a magic person? I don't know who you are. So as for amend, right? But we can think about amend perhaps as a shortened of a word like amendment. That's a different, not amendments. And this fits with our theme in the poem. The Musings of Captain America is the title of the poem, right? And so then that's a change of text. Like this we know. It is fixing something, basically. Your Poyo, the one and only. You should stop making new Twitch accounts. That doesn't really help. Why? Even as we shred our brief amend, we're with each other at the bitter end. The end of the line, we're with each other. So, our brief amend. Some sort of fix, some sort of change. Maybe that's just referring back to this, like we lean on shred to know that it's talking about these. And they are brief because they are gone. Maybe. We're with each other to the bitter end, to the end of the line, we're with each other. So this absolutely this very much is a different look than the start of the poem. And the start of the poem does kind of value community in a sense. We draw our friends and families close. But I think it is in the process of shredding the world here, this poem might suggest that something is lost. There's not really an actual connection. Because you are living this independent on your own kind of existence. That solitude of thought prevented, actually being with people. So we're with each other, the bitter end, the end of the line, we're with each other. And I think this shows like a fundamental change in our subject. The end of the line, end of the line. Repeated 3 times for emphasis to make us think it's over. A line is never actually finished. It just stops moving. But the thing is, you don't have to. And you don't have to stop moving. And that really feels very similar to the idea of absolutes. Convictions being set in stone and perfect and even, metric. But the end of this poem kind of points toward living life. And living life amongst others as a moving, changing, and dynamic being. Which is cool. It is my Poyo account. I changed the username. Still going by Poyo, but Mantle Merchant is my most common nickname. I'm going to call you Mantle Merchant because that's what I see in chat. I don't know. That's easier for me. A line is never actually finished. It just stops moving. But the thing is, you don't have to. So you don't have to stop. You don't have to find an absolute. You don't have to find a perfect right and wrong. And this poem, in its conclusion, speaks to the, dissolution of the absolute. So that's the initial thoughts on the poem. And there's more here. But this is what it is saying. The big theme is this personal shift, absolute to amongst community, the ending of things, death, whatever, pursuit and making change and hurting others. But the poem, of course, goes beyond this with the connections to Captain America and how this probably relates to some political ideology and other stuff, and also what that actually means from a personal perspective with our subject. And those things we'll talk about after a brief little break, and I'll be right back. Okay, welcome back. I'm still Ginny. We are still reading Musings of Captain America by dewonthegrass, and we'll read through the poem here in its entirety again. I learned absolute rights and wrongs. We draw our bows and draw our swords, defending them, and shred the world apart. What do you do when everything you know is gone? I learned absolute convictions and strength. We draw our rights and draw our arms, defending them, and shred the world apart. What do you do when everything you have is gone? I learned absolute loyalty and trust. We draw our friends and families close, defending them, and shred the world apart. What do you do when everything you love is gone? Maybe there's another power. Maybe there's another absolute. Maybe there's no other you, and maybe when we're gone, we go kaput. Silly rhyme, silly reason, take me to a warmer season. Differences shred structured teaching. Community brings disagreeing. Good couplet there. Oh, pentametric trotches sort my thought. The truths we seek for truths, the truths we seek for truth we seek in vain, if knowing all this knowing comes to naught. But sordid thoughts from others say it plain, these absolutes are spuriously sought. I panic as I fumble for refrain. What do you do? What do you do? What do you do? What do you do? What do you don't have to get by on your own? Even as we shred our brief amend, we're with each other to the bitter end, the end of the line, we're with each other. The end of the line. End of the line. A line is never actually finished, it just stops moving. But the thing is, you don't have to. Musings of Captain America by dewonthegrass. A poem is never actually finished, it just stops moving are Sayori's words from Doki Doki Literature Club. They've stuck with me for going on 6 years. Sayori. Poor girl. That makes a lot of sense. That's interesting. And I like the tie-in with like the poetry itself here, right? We have the poetry being a way to sort through, to break free from all of that, and then it also never has to stop moving. You can continue like learning, you can continue to break free of absolutes. And so Captain America, if we're looking at the subject here as just a person struggling with their own problems, communities, and whatever, we can think about it as like the solitary superhero. He is super strong, he has a indestructible shield, whatever. He's really good at killing bad guys. And so this poem, in that regard, shows us a journey from a solitude, in a sense, relying on one's strength and relying on oneself, having to protect everything, having to shoulder the weight of the world. Absolutes. Perfection. And then learning, being undermined by ideas of other, even within the verse, breaking the perfection of rhyme. Maybe there's another power, maybe there's another absolute, maybe there's no other you, and maybe when we're gone we go kaput. Like, this is another example today of the structure and the verse we use feeling directly related to the poem itself. We have repeating and similar shapes happening here, repetition, over and over, absolute, the same, ingrained, learned, and then a sort of humorous breaking free from it, and then even pointing toward it as a silly rhyme, silly reason, and now wanting to be taken somewhere warmer, somewhere better. Differences in people, differences in communities, shred, structured teaching. It's that learning, real learning. Community brings disagreeing. O pentametric troches sort my... This is hard to read. O pentametric troches sort my thought. The truths we seek for truth we seek in vain, if knowing all this knowing comes to naught. And even more so than like having no effect, like coming to a point of nothing. Shredding the world apart. How is any absolute good if the only result of the absolute is destruction? And for the person, this is living that sort of closed off, unlearned life, not so much having genuine community and connection, but having to rely only on themselves, having to feel like everything has to be protected. And then we have this questioning, this deep questioning, this panic, and then a sort of epiphany. Breaking free from that. And realizing, and not even just in one moment, but from a lot of pre-established tension and learning, that one can, in fact, get by with others, not get by on their own. Which is like a really great personal journey to that point of, I mean, there's an absolute in this, which is really funny, right? We're with each other to the bitter and the end of the line. What is until death for a person, for a mortal, other than absolute? Which is kind of funny. There's an irony there. But it's also an absolute that is positive for this person. And it's not an absolute that divides and destroys. This is an absolute of bringing people together. Could make this poem political. Captain America is a symbol of American patriotism. America, things are right. We are correct. We are the greatest country in the world. We will protect our people. Patriotism. While destroying the world, while funding wars, bombing kids in other countries. Maybe there's another power. Maybe there's another absolute. Other people probably feel this way about their worlds, their countries. And so this all begins to fall apart. Realizing the differences in others, the beautiful differences, teach you, shred the absolute nature of what one has been taught. And so learning through art, so learning through other people, we maybe come to realize that, our own thought as opposed to that of the country and the bad, the evil, the absolute, the America, is our thought is more valuable than that. That's like the two big interpretations I see of this poem. It's really straightforward, given how kind of beautiful and intricate it is in terms of the language, which I really like. At least I came to those conclusions in a straightforward way, and straightforward in that everything relates to everything and everything feels it has a place. None of these lines I would want to be removed from a poem like this, which, I mean, is usually the case when I read poetry. One of the questions of drowning, or of Dew on the Grass, was if I have a favorite stanza, which is hard. The questioning of maybe there's another power, maybe there's another absolute, definitely sticks with me. Can even think about this in like religious senses. My God is the one and only correct God. Maybe there's another one. Other people have their gods. Same with their country, same with their view of themselves, their ego, their understanding of the people around them. It's a cool stanza. That feeling of questioning. I think in terms of the language, it has to be, oh, pentametric trachis sort my thought. The truths we seek for truth we seek in vain. If knowing all this knowing comes to naught. Like, it's so cool. But sordid thoughts from others say it plain, these absolutes are spuriously sought. I panic as I fumble for refrain. There's also like a verse to that stanza. And I like end of the line. I'm so glad that Trotchi is an I am. Yeah. Trotchi. Wait, Trotchi? I am. I. Isn't I am short long? Trotchi. Is it? I mean, I say it like I put weight on the start. Trotchi. Which makes it a Trotchi. I am. But maybe I'm dumb. Maybe I'm also saying it wrong. Regardless, I really like this stanza. Probably my favorite. I like this stanza, and I like end of the line. It gives this feeling of the poem being over, and then there's like this footnote of continuation. A line is never actually finished, which makes this its own little like dynamic, a sort of joke to it, and it's like beautiful. I dig it. Do you have other questions, Dew on the Grass? Does anyone have comments for Dew on the Grass? I am is trachaic, yeah. I am. Wait, iambic is trachaic. I am is iambic. Iambic. I'm struggling. Any questions, Dew on the Grass? I haven't, like, I gave interpretation, I guess, but, or anyone else comments, thoughts? Do we like this poem? I like this poem. I think this poem's sick. Seems like there's probably not that many people around right now, because chat, but, if you have questions, Dew on the Grass. Please do ask. Also, as a note to like the iambic trachaic. One thing I feel is like so hard with like dialect and how people pronounce words, and some words I feel are pretty even. So like, I actually countered Sayori with Captain America at the end. Captain America, thank you, Buck, but I can get by on my own. His best friend. The thing is, you don't have to. So I'm with you to the end of the line, pal. Oh, so this is like direct quote. Okay. But the thing is, you don't have to. Sure. Very cool. Thing is, so, and then Sayori is saying, the Sayori quote is, a poem is never actually finished. It just stops moving. But the thing is, you don't have to stop moving. I guess when you give the context of like Sayori dying in the way that she does in that game, it would be like a counterpoint to it. You don't have to stop moving. Is that what you're saying? Regardless, I like the degree of like quotes from media and references. I think it's really cool. Okay, that's what you're saying, yeah. Um and yeah, so I think even without like that bit of knowledge, the poem does feel fundamentally hopeful, right? But to specifically counter Sayori, who probably uses that line in relation to her suicide, but you don't have to stop moving, you don't have to be finished, nor do you have to stop. You can just live, is like pretty awesome. It's a really cool poem. Thank you, of course. I like it. Do you have any other thoughts? Questions for me? Or I can read it again. Sayori's death always pained me because she did everything right. She just received no support from beginning to end. Yeah, Doki Doki Literature Club is a pretty brutal game. And I think the most powerful part is like Sayori's story. Everything else is honestly less interesting to me than Sayori. But that's just my thought on the story itself. If no other questions, though, I can agree with that for sure. Yeah. Questions? Do? Comments? Concerns? You don't need to have any. Like, that's fine. But I don't think there's much more analysis in me today. Okay. Then I'll just read your poem again. Musings of Captain America. I learned absolute rights and wrongs. Oh, could I do the final reading with the kaput rhyme instead of kaput? You want it to rhyme? Okay. Yeah. I didn't know what the intent. So I really like it as breaking the expected rhyme. But yeah, if it's read as kaput, I can read it kaput. I guess there's probably a silly reason for that silly rhyme. Musings of Captain America. I learned absolute rights and wrongs. We draw our bows and draw our swords, defending them, and shred the world apart. What do you do when everything you know is gone? I learned absolute convictions and strength. We draw our rights and draw our arms, defending them, and shred the world apart. What do you do when everything you have is gone? I learned absolute loyalty and trust. We draw our friends and families close, defending them, and shred the world apart. What do you do when everything you love is gone? Maybe there's another power. Maybe there's another absolute. Maybe there's no other you. And maybe, when we're gone, we go kaput. Silly rhyme, silly reason. Take me to a warmer season. Differences shred, structured teaching, community brings disagreeing. Oh, pentametric trotches, sort my thought, the truths we seek for truth in vain, if knowing all this knowing comes for naught. But sordid thoughts from others say it plain that these absolutes are spuriously sought. I panic as I fumble for refrain. What do you do? What do you do? What do you do? What do you do? What do you don't have to get by on your own? Even as we shred our brief amend, we're with each other to the bitter end, to the end of the line, we're with each other. The end of the line. End of the line. A line is never actually finished, it just stops moving. But the thing is, you don't have to. Musings of Captain America by dewonthegrass. Really, really beautiful work. And I appreciate you submitting. Thank you so much. Excellent, really fun poem. I enjoyed it. I did. It was good.
Thank you for watching. I encourage you to check out the rest of the series, follow if you enjoyed, and stop by Twitch if you want to share your own work. See you there.